But as for myself, I'm not on a project of clearing it all out.
Mm-mm.
I know there's going to be some left, some conditioning that's very strong, and I'm not on any kind of purification program of any sort, so.
Yeah, that's actually another one of the whips.
It is one of the whips.
It's a great whip. It's a really good one. That one that can create a lot of suffering.
Yes, people with their ideas about enlightenment and awakening and all of these things.
Yeah.
They're these images of perfection that people are laboring with, And instead to really just see us as divine rascals, as Ellen Watts brilliantly said, we're divine rascals, And I'm really into my rascality, more and more than it used to be. Yeah.
One that I'm struggling a little bit with at the moment is this one. I mean, it's a concept that I dance around, is how difficult it is to disappoint another in order not to disappoint myself. And it touches on a lot of these things about what I'm willing to compromise and what I'm willing to give up and what I'm not willing to give up.
Yes, wow.
And not to go into too much of a definition about it, but it's really interesting to see, just in what you're speaking here tonight, I can just feel the shift happening and opening up the space around that, and just allowing it to be held and allowing it to be seen.
Yes.
Because in the end, it's not actually even separate. It's not that it's about disappointing anybody else or myself. It's got nothing to do with that at all.
Yes.
But just to really value this above all else. That's what it keeps coming back to.
Yes.
And allowing that to show what's real.
Beautiful.
But in this seeing, in this clear seeing, I'm a little going around chasing my tail. Like, what is it that I'm not seeing?
But again, that's similar to what we just spoke about.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about what you're not seeing. It's like the dark side of the moon. Let it be. And as you are more and more relaxed, and as time goes on, and all of that, and as more experience comes your way, things reveal themselves, or not. But it's not you that has to do it. We all have been very programmed to try hard. And what did our teacher tell us? Give up the search, call off the search, relax, keep quiet, rest. But
that's always the answer.
It is always the answer.
It stops there.
It does. I know it's always the answer. Yeah. We hear it in deeper ways, as you know, with time. We do. We hear it in deeper ways. I keep hearing it in deeper places. I hear especially, I completely relate to what you said about the ways that one can compromise your own integrity and your own feeling of living easily in your skin in order to, as you say, not disappoint the other. And that one has to, it's a razor's edge, you have to live with you. You have to sleep with you, right? And so to always have the greater good at heart, but also include your own self in the greater good as well. Include your own caring for you as part of the greater good.
This really touches upon that great balancing act, because there's a certain, there's a drive, one of the drives, deeply, at a very, very deep level, is an awareness of what's going on at a greater level of our human reality, of the existence on the planet, what's happening here, and feeling compelled in whatever way to serve that awakening, to somehow preserve this precious life that we're all sharing. And yet I'm so aware of how that can turn out to be a masquerade for so many of these other drives that are pushing the show, which is actually feeding the whole thing. I mean, I'm seeing the interconnectedness with that as well.
So you're speaking about the particular moment in history we find ourselves in, which the planet seems to be unraveling on lots of levels.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's mirroring, of course, as a reflection. I know that I can't really serve that if I'm not holding that in myself.
Holding quiet in yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's your only job.
Yeah.
Really. When you relax in that, Sal, then your own natural impulses, your own intelligence, you'll be used by some mysterious force. Mm-hmm. You know, I sometimes think about Ramana in this regard, who just followed his own star, you know, that took him to Arunachala. Not to save the world. But here it is all these years later, after his death, long after his death, you know, and the presence of his life is a healing balm on this planet. It may not save us, but it's certainly a lovely healing force that a lot of people are enjoying and transforming a lot of lives. So you think about that with no intentionality that he had to so-called be this historical, you know, presence. He was just being true to his own quiet. You know, that's all we have to do. You know, you said to me yesterday, tapping into just being nobody. How relaxing. And not wearing that as an identification. Just the truth of not having to prove anything, not having to save, not having to all of that. And then you really do become a being of loveliness and of light and of relaxation for others, you know. I get nervous around missionaries.
But I also get nervous around people who are really only concerned with their own.
Oh,
you know that.
Yes, sure. No,
that bothers me.
That's
bothers me.
That's the other end of the spectrum. That's the other end of that spectrum of the little me, right? The little me, living in the little me. Sometimes the little me wants to prove itself to the world. And sometimes the little me just wants to be in a room and get everything at once and have everyone serve it. And there's everything in between it can think of. But I'm speaking about something else. I'm speaking about a recognition of just ease of being that does see the suffering and does understand the moment in history that we find ourselves and does understand the personal suffering in our lives. I can't seem to get through a week without hearing about someone I care about who has a disease. You know, and not only that, but of course we're privy to all of the news of the world in a way we haven't been historically before. We have never had this amount of news at our fingertips.
I think this is what it comes down to for the little me. It's beyond unbearable, unfathomable, impossible to somehow gaze upon the madness of the world and the suffering that's going on and not to want to do something about it, you know.
Sure.
To be able to just see it for what it is.
Right, but
to see myself, to see the others, to see everything, just to see it as it is without having to do anything. This is
Well,
huge.
I'm not saying you don't respond to suffering,
yeah.
but not in an abstract way.
Not with
You
the doing.
respond to whoever presents themselves in front of you. And you let your life be used when you're coming from that quiet, when you're sitting fully in it. Your life will be used, however it will, for the greater good. It won't be out of your decision. It just is a natural byproduct of that understanding, of that recognition. Just as you as a mother, you don't think about, oh, I'm in service now to my child, I'm feeding her a meal, right? You don't think, that's not how you think about it. It's one continuum. It's a flow of beingness that just wants to give itself away. And that will go on. The deeper you sit in the quiet, the more that flow is available to you, but not out of an abstract idea of serving humanity or trying to save this burning world, right? It's more just a fragrance that emits from you as a flower that's just the natural byproduct of you sitting in that quiet. Yeah. And simple. Very simple.
Thank you, Kath.
Welcome, Sam.